Big win, Don Wilson here for Top MMA News, here with Mark the Machine Hominick. And really, my first question is to you, how are you dealing with everything with Sean Tompkins right now? I guess that's the first big question that you're being asked by everyone. How are you dealing with it?
It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a long-standing thing that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. He's the best man at my wedding, so it was more than just a coach and student relationship we had. So it's going to be tough, but I'm looking at it as like the way I carry on his legacy and go out there and perform, and that's what my my job's to do.
And definitely, you guys have been doing it. And I was just talking to Chris, and it was really nice to see you, Alex Gasson in the corner, seeing the whole team come together. How has that been? How has the team coagulated together to get through this?
Definitely, like everyone's leaned on each other and been a lot closer. Tragedy brings a lot, the people who are a part of that group are closer, and that's what it's done with us.
Now, next fight, UFC 140 against, the Korean Zombie. Prior to this fight being announced, he was doing a little tour of Ontario, doing some seminars, and he actually called you out. How are you looking forward to this fight?
It's a great fight, great matchup for the fans, great matchup for myself. I think it's tailor-made. It's one of those fights that, there's not a lot of big names at 145. There's a ton of tough fights, but a lot of people who don't know all these fighters, So I think it's a popular fight because everyone knows his name, everyone knows his fighting style, so it makes sense, and we're going to go out there and, put on, a great fight.
I definitely take it this is a fight that you want to stand and bang and show your dominance there.
Yeah, for sure, but I can mix it up, I got skills on the ground as well, and wherever the fight goes, but I'm looking to put them away.
Now I want to take a step back in your career and take a look at really the fight that I thought brought you to the forefront, where your battles with Hatsuo Hioki back in TKO, really before anyone knew who Hatsuo Hioki was. Now he's in the the UFC. Sorry, is that someone that you're looking to go out against now that you've improved your skill and you know the type of game plan that you could bring into that fight?
Oh, for sure, I'd fight Hioki in the backyard. He's one of those guys, like he's got 2 wins over me, and he's an amazing fighter, one of the best in the world, and that's a fight I'd love to get back. We had a war the last fight, 5 rounds. Could have went either way, and yeah, he's one of the best in the world, and like anybody, I want to face the guys that are at the top.
So how is the camp doing right now? I know you have a lot of guys in the camp right now coming up. Any young up and comers that you can throw out there for the fans and keep their eyes open on?
We got an Adrenaline Training Center in Team Tompkins. We got a ton of guys. We got Jesse Ronson, Jesse Gross, and we got Chris Clements. He's kind of been on the brink for the last 5 years, and I really hope he gets an opportunity. So that's one guy. He's not new to the sport, but he's new to a lot of people, and he knocks people out. So I think love to see him.
Chris is definitely a big fan of the site and a good friend of the site. Especially huge spinning back kick win over Travis Briere the last time out, and I believe he'll be coming up in Sarnia on December 3rd. Opponent escapes me right now, but I believe he will be in the Sarnia card if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Do you know the opponent?
It's mixed around right now, so I don't want to say anything is wrong. But I think it's going to be a UFC vet. I think Forrest Pets.
Pets, that was the last name.
I think that's the last I've heard. So hopefully, he just needs to keep doing what he's doing, and hopefully people take notice.
So the last time we saw you a big hematoma, and then we got to see you holding your baby on Twitter. So how's the family situation going right now?
Love being a dad, love having my daughter, and it's changed life for the better.
How do you incorporate that into training? Because I know you were one of the guys that really took training very, very serious, put a lot of time into the gym. How do you mix family life and fighting life?
It's just like any job. You have to commit yourself fully to everything you do, and that's one thing I've always prided myself in doing. Is no matter what I'm doing 100%. Like if I was in university, going through business school, did the same thing there, and competing for the TKO. So it's just balancing act, and you just got to be focused at what you're doing.
Now rumor around the campfire has been that you were the one that introduced George St. Pierre to wearing the suit for the fights.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you took that away from the old hockey days back in the day, wearing the traveling teams. Were you the one that introduced him to wearing the suit to fight? Yeah, for
sure. Yeah, him and Wazo. I was since my first kickboxing fight, I always wear a suit to the fight.
Yeah. So that it was definitely you.
For sure.
Perfect. Now before we let you go, family, friends, sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just everyone who backs Team Tompkins, and Adrenaline Training Center, and all my fans and family.
Perfect. Once again, fans, big win, Don Wilson. Mark the Machine Hominick, Top MMA News.